This episode is brought to you by Call Review, the dealership intelligence platform that connects every conversation to performance. From their hosted phone system and AI-powered attendant to real-time analytics, coaching, and reputation insights, Call Review helps you capture every call, understand every interaction, and convert more opportunities. Call Review, where communication meets intelligence. For more information, visit callreview.com. All right, Yusuf, welcome to the Doug Horner Show, episode 3. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thank you, Doug. Like I said, and I appreciate you inviting me. I'm really excited and looking forward to what your channel brings. And congratulations on your new channel. It's nice to see the Mr. Benz and bow tie without the bow tie. So
Right,
I
no
appreciate you
tie.
again.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, of course. So the whole premise of what I'm doing here is I hope to inspire maybe the next Doug Horner or, the Benz's bow tie ride with Yusuf to start making content because they see the benefit of connecting with their audience and going out and accomplishing whatever they want to accomplish. I think that
Sure.
you and I have some of the most similar content out there simply because we're both doing that kind of behind the scenes look at what real life scenarios that and education on kind of the process of buying a car. Not necessarily. I mean, you have a nice hybrid of sort of what I do and maybe like what a George Saliba does, where you're a lot of phone calls and then a mix to just the behind the scenes stuff. But how did you get into this? What made you start filming, and why? What was the why when you started?
Well, I think the why kind of fell into my lap. Um, I never was planning to stay in the automotive industry. So when I was young, I definitely was fiddling with my mom's car, my dad's car. I was replacing their alternator, their brakes. It's a side project. I definitely had a knack for, sort of the automotive market. I was definitely into back then there were like Hondas and Integra, Honda Civics, and then Acura Integras. I would like kind of soup up, like put turbocharger kits on them, or add some sort of speakers on them. Other than that, I went to a 4-year college. I got my degree in applied math for business and finance. I actually was going to become an actuary, but then decided to work, at a bank. I was a middle office analyst, and then my life kind of took a turn. Uh, Somebody kind of suggested kind of a change of plan for me, and that was God. And I don't know, I actually got famous from doing food reviews locally. I was in DC, my tech startup had failed, and I had to move back to Greensboro, North Carolina, and that was sort of like grassroots for me again. My life has
Yeah.
always been, the trajectory has always been up, but there have been some pretty rough like downs.
Yep.
So I got into vehicles just by starting to flip it off cars off Facebook Marketplace, and then it kind of just grew and grew and grew. So that's how I kind of got into the automotive slash selling cars scene.
Okay. So you really don't have a very long history of being in the car business. So you sort of worked your way into it later in life, it sounds like.
Sure, yeah. So like in the actual car business, I say 2000 2021, right after COVID. I definitely hit the car business pretty hard. This is when I started to wholesale, and then started to do retail. But before then, yeah, it was just more of a side project. I loved cars, obviously. I was a mechanic for a while. I had a mobile mechanic business. So as far as anything automotive related, I had a very strong foundation. But to be in the business, yeah, that was definitely recent, 2020, 2021.
That's amazing, actually, because if I didn't know that about you, I would never guess that you've only been doing this for 4 or 5 years. I mean, when you watch your videos and you see the way that you interact with people, the conversations that you have, it sounds like you've been doing this an entire lifetime. So that speaks to you and your ability to pick up on things.
Yeah, also the gift of gab, right? I talk a lot sometimes, so I think
There you go.
that's also good for the automotive industry.
Yes, it is. So you basically were making food review videos, and is that why you saw the benefit to you're like, all right, I'm going to translate
um,
this to cars?
so in Greensboro, North Carolina, it's that's where I grew up. I'm not saying that that city is just doesn't have many influencers, but there weren't a lot of food influencers, and everybody watches Keith Lee and whatnot. So I said, you know what? I go to these, I wouldn't say shady. They're just places that not a lot of people go to because of the
Yeah.
area. You would suspect like, okay, it doesn't feel safe, but at the end of the day, the food is great. So I'm like, all right, let me just break the ice with a lot of people and just show them my experience. So I went to there was a place called Taco in the Box and a couple other places, and it blew up. I was like, wow. And I this
Yeah.
is me having like 200 followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
Overnight, I did one video on a chicken spot, and I went from 200 followers to like 5,000. I'm telling you,
Wow.
Doug, overnight, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then during this time, I was working at a dealership, Rose Auto Sales. Shout out to Nick and Mo. I loved them to death. They gave me an opportunity from when I was pretty low in life when it came to opportunities. They were, the deal was, hey, Yusuf, we'll bring you in. Whatever car you see in front of you, they had, some cars with mechanical issues. I would fix them, then we would flip them, and I would split the props with them, right? So they had a retail location, full on blown dealership. So I would fix them, spend, 7 hours on this car, 8 hours in this car, pretty much, the whole day, fix these
Yep.
cars. Once we sold them, I split the props with them. And
Okay.
then I was just curious. I said, nobody's doing videos on the auction, what's going on. Everybody's complaining around 2022. Why are prices so high? Why is interest rates? I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and just do an auction video. I did one. That video got like 5 million views. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And I need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
just hone in and just focus on it. So I was like, all right, should I do food or automotive? And to be honest, there's a lot of competition in the food space. I was like, you know what? There are probably not as many people doing the automotive stuff. So boom, there you go. Um, During that time, George was coming up as well, but obviously he's accelerated and much success to him. And a
Yep.
couple other people. I think Alex movie merch was coming up as well. So I was more of the grassroots guy, like I wasn't doing the fancy cars. I was the guy showing you if you get this valve cover from Amazon, this one from eBay, you could save $3,000-4,000 on mechanical fixes, right? So I started off the car industry there, and then just kind of progressed into what I am now. So that's sort of how I came into the social media aspect of things, just like you said, behind the scenes, auction
Yeah.
prices, etc.
Okay. So tell me about what you're doing now. You've got a new dealership, basically, right?
Yeah. Auto Cafe. So essentially, when I was with Rose at that time, I was showing auction videos and whatnot. By the way, I got banned from the auction for like 90 days for that video. It was crazy. Like I had
Really?
dealers. Yeah, so dealers are actually calling the auction saying he's showing people what we're paying for the car. That's unfair. And and that blew my mind because it's like we brag about how much we buy everything for, but the dealers are kind of like, and at this time in 2022, nobody was making 15 grand on a car. This is at like peak, like everybody was making like on the front end 500 to 1,000, and then the back end is where everybody makes their money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that definitely humbled me, being the little guy. So I had to be a little more strategic about what I shoot and whatnot. And then segued into Charlotte Auto Center. So I was in Charlotte for a little bit. And then I kind of grew into a bigger social media following, and that propelled me to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta, I think, last year. Yeah, last year for Legacy Motor Cars. That didn't work out, unfortunately, just business. And then, and the reason why I'm telling you, building this up to you, because during this transition period, I bought a car from the auction, Manheim, and it's actually funny. It was a Mercedes. And it was funny to
Okay.
say Mercedes. And I think it's one of the videos maybe you probably followed me on. It's crazy. It was 2 years ago. It was a uh, it was a CLA 250 or something. Those motors, the four-cylinder motors, have a notorious coolant pipe that cracks along the top of the engine. Anyways, I fixed it at the actual auction. I got a quote from Mercedes for like 3 grand. I was like, forget that. I'm gonna fix this for like 400 bucks. Showed the receipt, showed everything. My close friend slash investor slash brother, pretty much, drop top Paul. I don't know if you've seen him. He's my business partner, Paul.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, he was so like just captivated and just moved by this guy who obviously came from the from a high and then is hitting super low, now is working his way back up. He was like, I like him. So he actually sold me 15 of his vehicles at once, and I had this on video. He sold about, like, he owned the rights to like 700 Subway stores in the tri-state area. Sold them all when there was a big I think private bank that bought them all for like $10 billion for
Yeah.
Subway. Got his check off. He wanted to sell these cars. I told him I didn't have the money for them, but I'll buy this amount. The rest I'll just put on my lot and consign. Ended up sending him the money back, and he was like, you know what, Yusuf, keep the money, flip it on the next one. So took his money, flipped it, and then boom, we turned it into a multi-million dollar brand called Auto Cafe.
Love
Um,
that.
and I say that because, and I'm sure this is kind of like a broad stroke picture, is like social media can bring you so many opportunities you never know. It's not about just oh, I'm making $500 off a reel. It's like the connections you make, and these are just lifelong and can be even more, satisfying than receiving a check from TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that for a lot of people, I myself included, I'm sure, when you start making videos and you are like, "Oh, TikTok will pay me to make videos," that's kind of like cool, right? You're like, this is sweet. They're sending me a check to just
Yep,
film what I'm doing every day." But then to your point, you quickly realize there's so much more potential outside of that. You know, eyeballs on your business, getting introduced to people you otherwise wouldn't have been introduced to. I mean, you and I certainly wouldn't be talking now if I hadn't started making videos, if you hadn't started making videos. That's what connected us, right? It's sort of this automotive brotherhood
absolutely.
almost, where you kind of,
Yep,
once you've, I don't know, reached a level of recognition out there in the community, you kind of have access to everybody if you really want to.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's super cool. But
Well, I mean, I think Doug, also, like, you have played a big part in my success because you are very much, I think, more in tune, in line with the profession of the automotive industry. You know how to sell, you know how to talk, you know how to desk. These are things I learned from you. And actually, I used to send all my salespeople your videos. I'm like, listen up to Doug. This is how it's done. And having that perspective from somebody like you who has so much experience, it helped me grow a lot because it helped me understand and delegate, and also when you're an independent dealer, it's very difficult to kind of trust this more digital adoption approach, and kind of have all the trust in your salespeople to bring you the correct information. Then you move it on because it's my baby. So I want to kind of be selfish and like hold the whole process, but that holds you back, unfortunately. And you taught me, like, hey, like, this is what it is. If it's not, then move on and don't be so emotional, right? We love to go through this emotional cardio, especially in
yeah,
sales, and go back and forth and whatnot. So your channel's played a big part in my success, and I appreciate the insights you've given because it does help, me and many other people, especially in the sales industry.
well, that's amazing. I appreciate that. Um, so tell me, you've only been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. You've always been on the independent side of the business. Okay. So for anybody that watches my content, I work for a franchise dealership. It's a very, obviously, at the end of the day, it's still a car dealership, but there's a lot that's different between a franchise dealership and an independent dealership. Um, what would you s you know, what is it like working in an independent? You know what I mean? You kinda mentioned, delegation can be a little bit hard because it's a lot of times you only have maybe a few people on your team, but, what's it like to the average person that's used to watching me at a Mercedes-Benz store, and might not totally understand the differences?
Sure. I think, aside from, having a lean team, the main differences between an independent dealership, in the most cases, right? There are independent dealerships that can operate just like a franchise dealership, but that takes, years. But somebody in my shoe, you obviously have a more of a compartmentalized like process. It comes, it's sort of like A to B to C to D, and then once you finish off, boom. Typically, independent dealers will kind of wear multiple hats during that process. It can complicate, the deal, as far as like taking time away from finishing up, this deal, or focusing on other aspects of the business. So it can be very time consuming. I'm sure your day is super outbound. I mean, just like the amount of outbound things that we have to do, we just kind of forget the little things that come inbound, right? Um, and with you, you have much more, like you said, support system. Also, the for I guess for me and many other independent dealers, our meat and potatoes is the vehicle itself. It's not so much the add-ons and the
Yeah.
fees and all the back end. And you guys get that participation from Mercedes-Benz Financial and other banks that you have on your platform to
Yep.
incentivize you to use them so you can make more money on the vehicle. So for us, it has to be a lot. Our buying has to be perfect. The selling has to be a little more calculated, and obviously when it comes to products and services, you guys have a little more leeway to kind of make more money on those things. And it's also brand loyalty. Somebody's going to buy a Mercedes from a Mercedes store much more than they're going to buy from me, unless I have a super competitive price, or just sort of that prestige that comes from, okay, I'm going to buy it from Auto Cafe because it just sounds better. But nothing sounds better than buying a Mercedes from a Mercedes store, right? So there's some
Sure.
similar, or some differences that I think that kind of are between independent and franchise dealers.
Now, yeah, loyalty is a big part of it, and I can appreciate how difficult it would be. I mean, you don't really have any built-in loyalty. Now, of course, I think one mistake that a lot of people make that sell primarily used cars is that they believe that loyalty isn't possible for them because it's, they get trapped in the mindset of, well, people just want to buy a used car that fits what they're looking for, and wherever it is, that's where I'm going to buy it. And to a degree, that's definitely more true than a new car, which is replaceable, right? You can get the same new car, generally speaking, anywhere. But I would argue that if you've been in the business for a little while, you'll quickly learn that people generally do want to do business with people that they like and they trust. And if you're a used car dealer, I would argue that it is possible for you to have loyalty and repeat business if people are like, "Hey, I trust Yusuf. I know I'll tell him this is what I'm looking for, and he'll go find it for me." Have you found that's been possible to have people that want to come back to you over and over again because they just know that you'll figure it out and take care of them?
Absolutely. But the sustainability of that is very difficult because, and I say that because Ride with Yusuf won't always be Auto Cafe, right?
Right.
Somebody could end up buying it, or I could shift and still have Auto Cafe and move forward. So that loyalty sort of sticks with, Ride with Yusuf more so than Auto Cafe. But
Yeah.
yes, take away the social media. Absolutely. There have been situations before social media, and other instances where other people have built that brand loyalty, but it's going to be more difficult for somebody like independent dealer. You have to go above and beyond, essentially, right? You have to really stick them with something and be like, okay, wow, that is something that I think that I'm always going to come back for. um so uh, and also it might be a curse as well, because in order for me to go out of my way and for you to go out of your way, there might be just a difference of like an arm's length for you, where it's like I'm going 10 miles out of my way to make the customer feel the same experience, unfortunately. And that's just the difference between a bigger store and a smaller store.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't imagine what a day looks like for you. I feel pulled in a million different directions already just running the store or running the sales department anyway. And,
Right.
because you've got a huge team of people that could need you at any moment for something. And then when you've got all this social media outreach and repeat clients, even, it's like, if I didn't have a team to delegate to help me with all of this, I would drown. It wouldn't be possible. So now, obviously, when you have the franchise behind you, there's inherent demand for that product that might or may not exist when you're at an independent store and you've got used cars and they may or may not fit what somebody's looking for. But yeah, I can't imagine what a day looks like for you. It must be just controlled chaos all the time.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's also my personality. It's very much controlled chaos.
Yeah.
My desk may be a mess, but if you organize it, it'll drive me crazy because I know where everything is and where everything's supposed to be, even though it
Yeah.
may look disorganized. But also adding the social media element to it, Doug, I think that's what exhausts the process so much, because just like you know your content is very captivating, and to be honest, like, I feel like I know you and I've never met you, because you're very thorough, you're articulate, you understand the process. And not even that, you have your moments where you take the tie off, right? So the tie
Yeah.
symbolizes you with Mercedes, but now the tie is off, it's like, okay, cool, this is the my alter ego, Doug, right? So,
Right.
and then when people see that, they're like, when they see, like, for instance, like any place I go, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, I'm not saying like I'm so famous, but there are many times I'll go to the mall or I'll go outside and people will literally hold me. Oh, can you see me? Oh,
Oh, yep.
all
Sorry,
right, cool.
lost you there for a moment. All right. So
No
you
worries.
you were saying when you go places,
When I go places, people will grab me just because they're like, Yusuf, you seem friendly. Let me tell you about my day or whatever it is. And I'm
yeah,
stuck like an hour. I don't want to say stuck, because stuck is a negative connotation, but when I'm out with friends or family or, whatever, it does drain you. And especially the dealership. Literally have people drive from Pennsylvania to buy a car from me. And then you're stuck with them, entertaining them, because they're like, Yusuf, I came for you. So
yeah,
this is sort of my expectation. So it can be very cumbersome, man. And I'm sure you have had your same experiences where people are saying, I want to see Doug. And I'm
yeah.
not going to help. And even though you've put those things in place, like there are four salespeople that come before you, a GM, hey, he's busy, and they're coming to see you. So I think that's what complicates things a little bit, especially for people like us when we have a following.
Yeah. Yeah, interestingly, I guess fortunately there are a lot of people that have driven and flown even great distances to come and do business with us and to meet me, and it's like I'm floored by that. I mean, I'm obviously I'm so humbled, and I love that, and like to me, it's the fulfillment of this mission to show people that buying a car can be fun and transparent. You can do it without getting ripped off, and we'll get into that because I think you and I we have a similar mission there, where it's maybe peeling back the curtain in a way that most dealerships are like, kind of to your point about the auction, where a lot of dealerships might not necessarily like my content because they're like, all right, he's showing and saying too much, but anyway, one of the things that is great about having a team is that they're like an extension of me. And so a lot of times people will work with them and that I'll be involved, but I won't have to be fully involved like maybe you do. And when I was talking to George recently, and I don't know that this necessarily made it into the podcast, but he was mentioning that a lot of times now people will show up to the dealership from great distances away and they'll work with somebody on his sales team and they won't even seek him out. Like he'll like see the person there and maybe there's like a quick eye contact, but the person will buy the car, they'll leave. And then afterward, they'll message him and be like, hey man, like love your content. Just got a car from you guys. Like, thank you so much. And he's like, I wish they'd come and said hi, but like when you have that team there, it almost becomes this kind of filter for people to be like working with you without directly taking up your entire day, if that makes sense, which sounds like probably happens to you because you have such a lean operation.
Well, not even that. I've set that boundary, but sometimes my title clerk and my salesperson, if I'm being a little bit of an ass that day, when people come in to see me, they're like, "Yeah, he's right there." I'm like, "I told you, I'm not here today." So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's all good. It's fun, and I do get to meet a lot of people, understand their situations. But like I said, I'm the type of person, Doug, and I'm sure you are too. I carry everybody's weight, so whatever interaction I have with that customer, whether it's good or bad, it'll stay with me for a long time, right? So,
Yeah,
in most cases, I think, and we'll get to the part where you were talking about how we can be a little more transparent or a lot more transparent in the car industry.
yeah,
I think that transparency kind of shifts the notion to be like, okay, well, he's telling the truth, he's being transparent, that means he can help me. And it's really hard to draw that line between people that can't be helped and people that just should understand they should be doing it the right way and understand how the process should be and what it should cost and what is the best way for you to save your time and money. But I think you're right. I think if I had a bigger operation, I'd be able to remove myself a little bit more. But then again, it's just like, are we doing a disservice because it's Doug Horner, it's Benz and Bowtie? You know what I mean? It's that's the brand. That's where people are coming to see.
yeah.
But I don't think I've had an experience like that so far. Everybody that comes to see me or messages me, it's all about me. And people won't even work. They won't even work with Brandon or Laura or Sebastian. They're like, I want to speak to Yusuf. I don't speak to nobody else. And it's like it's proprietary information. And then I'm like, hey
Right.
brother, how are you? How can I help? It's like, yeah, I want to sell my Honda. Okay.
Right.
It's like, Brandon can help with that. I'm going to transfer you over. So,
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about kind of the car business in general, from the perspective of the transparency. I mean, what you know, d- everybody, or not everybody, but so many people look at maybe what you and I do, and they say, "Oh, you're giving up the tricks of the trade, or you're showing too much, or you're peeling back the curtain too much, and that's not good." Why do you say I disagree with that? Why do you give the level of transparency that you do, show the process? Why do you tell some people in some cases, I'm not going to sell you a car and here's what you need to do, which is like, in general, the opposite of what's happening in a lot of dealerships?
sure. Um, I think the reason is because I've lived that process. I've been in the best case and worst case scenario. I've had my cars repossessed before. I've been in crippling debt and I've been in very bad financial situations. And, I did a video on this. It's very expensive being poor. And with that mindset of like always just getting things that shouldn't necessarily make sense in the long run, but since it's in front of you, it's kind of your escape away from reality. But like, oh, I just bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz, but it's at like a 25% interest, and you're just like, I can make it work. Um, there's a
Yeah.
lot of that out there, and unfortunately, everybody blames education system and whatnot. I'm just like, well, no, it hasn't been talked about enough, to be honest. I think I was one of the first creators to ever video, and I may be wrong. And again, this is not me trying to put me ahead of the game and be like, oh, I'm the one that did it. No, I did just my observation. where there was an approval from Westlake, and then United Auto Credit was somebody with very bad credit. Um, and by the way, just FYI, whoever watches this podcast or this episode, I don't deal with mostly bad credit customers. It's those are the ones that are always asking for a handout or just trying to get a way to get into a vehicle. And it's not even the smart vehicle. It's always the expensive vehicle. I want to get what I want. I know what I do, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I think I was one of the first creators to post an approval. I removed the name and everything. And I showed
Yeah.
people, I was like, listen, this is what bad credit gets you. And the dealership can bump you up 2 points. The amount of negativity I got from dealerships, and I even had dealerships put bad reviews on my old dealership because you shouldn't be showing consumers the rate bump. So what? Like, at the end of the day, and then you'll go to that dealership's page, and I'm like, dude, you have literally a 2.5, and you're worried about people knowing the interest rate. How about selling cars that won't break down every 300 miles, or doing this or doing that? So the transparency aspect is genuinely me trying to have a more refreshing view so that others can be more comfortable, be like, you know what, I am more confident. I know that I can use my resources at my fingertips. But Doug, to be honest, and I know you've seen this, I will post a million videos showing what transparency looks like, showing how bad, credit gets you high interest, high auto loan payments, negative equity. People don't listen. So, and what I say that because dealers and dealership owners are so worried about the transparency. I guarantee you their numbers haven't been messed up. If anything, repossessions are still skyrocketing. People are defaulting the payments. People are still getting in worse positions. So it's not situation where like, oh, Yusuf videos are going to change the game. I'm sure there's been some sort of like rattle or some noise that's been made from them, but it's not to the point where it's just like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It's a little deceptive, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a level of education you can put out there, and it will benefit some people, and some people that maybe need it most won't take anything away from it. And obviously, you can't make somebody learn something they don't want to learn, right? But I think that the overall benefits of being transparent are far outweigh the negatives, because will some people maybe feel like they know a little bit too much, and like they don't like the way that a car dealership makes money? Okay, yeah, sure, I guess you could make that argument. But the reality is that everyone at the end of the day knows that a car dealership is a business, right? And I'm sure you've heard it before. I've heard it many times early in my car selling career. Like, I get it, you're a business, you got to make money, right? And like, maybe they're like, I just don't want you to make any money on me or whatever. But like
Yes.
most people understand, right, that hey, like anything else in life, it is a business. And if you're buying something, in order to continue to be in business and to offer a product for sale, right, there has to be a level of profit that is occurring. It's just, I think that most people have a fear that they're just not going to be treated fairly, that they're going to just have the wool pulled over their eyes, that they're going to be taken advantage of. And when you can tell somebody that, yeah, we're going to make a little bit of money. That's how we stay in business, but we're going to treat you fairly. We're going to give you all the information. We're going to take care of you. Then they're like, okay, I'm cool with that. Right? It's the fear, the uncertainty goes away. And so it's like, to me, the fact that anybody would want to like hide everything and keep it close to the vest and keep all their customers in the dark, I just don't get that, because I think that overall most of those people are going to leave the process with you maybe not feeling great about the decision they made. Like, maybe they'll be happy with the car because they're emotional about it, but if they didn't feel good doing business with you, then do you ever expect to see them again, talk to them again, have them send friends, family? Probably not.
Sure. And I agree with you 100%. Also, I feel that the transparency sort of the problem is in the car industry and the car market in general, car dealerships, it's just deceptive marketing. And I've called this out multiple times. I can't stand where people will try to validate this deceptive marketing. Cars 12,000, you get there, ends up being 15. Why? Like, why would you waste somebody's time? Because if you do on the flip side, I'm sure everybody would be upset. Well, this is one way to bring people in. It's not. It's not the right way. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when they go, and this is pretty much in consumerism, is like just a very interesting topic psychologically, how people work. Once you
Yeah.
get somebody in the door, that's it. I mean, they're yours. And especially when it comes to car sales, you can be very, very aggressive. And sometimes it's those tactics where that's where people get afraid from. They hear one, and I think social media's perpetuated that, because you'll hear somebody, I paid 80 grand for a Toyota Highlander. What? The dealership did that. I mean, that would in my like I would be scared to go to a Toyota dealership if that's what the norm was. I got a 22% interest rate. What? And some people are just. It's crazy how anecdotally people live. Oh, I've got a 2.9. Okay, that's great. But the problem is maybe the other person next to you just wants a little more information on how they can process and how they can shop better. And this transparency, what you're showing, what I'm showing, what other people are showing, helps. And it has made a difference, Doug. I get so many messages from people saying, Yusuf, thank you so very much. You saved me from this, or I saved 2% on this, or you helped me negotiate 5K. Or a dealership, literally, dealerships reached out to me saying, Yusuf, thank you for showing me how it's supposed to be done. And this is just what it is. And I think that speaks volume. And
Yep.
if anybody says otherwise, cool, okay. Anybody, like you said, it's a business. Anybody's free to go do business anywhere. If you want to go get, you know, the wool pulled off for you, cool, go do that. You want to go to the transparent guy, cool. At the end of the day, you don't have to do business with me. You don't have to do business with Doug. It's a free market. You don't have to do business with anybody. And that's the moral of the story, Doug, is just like think about what you're buying before. You're not tied to anything.
No, you're not. And so to that point, you and I have spoken about this before. And again, you haven't been I've been in the business for 15 years now, 15 years plus, which is kind of crazy to think. And you've only been in it for maybe a third of that time. But you've been in it long enough to see that what fascinated me about the car business was that it has, in many cases, a well-earned reputation of dealers that aren't transparent, might take advantage, don't give a good experience. So I understand why so many consumers have their guard up, and it's this weird business where it's like we sell something that people really want and they're really excited about, and it's like the process of buying it, they're like, I'd rather get a root canal, right? It's like, which is, I don't think there's anything else in life that I can think of where it's like, oh my, I want this thing so bad, like it makes me happy, it's a part of my life, but like the process of getting it is miserable. But that's
Right.
this business. Um, doesn't have to be that way, but a lot of people have had that experience. Now, on the flip side, how much of it, there are instances, and I know you've seen these, I've certainly seen these. How often is it the dealer's fault that somebody is in a bad position? Okay, sometimes yes. Can you make the argument that there are times where a consumer puts themselves of their own free will in a situation that they most definitely should not be in?
Absolutely. But like you said, there's nothing like the car industry. If you really want something, you're tunnel vision. You don't care if you hear this or you're paying 30 grand in interest. It's just I want to get to the finish line. So that's
Isn't
why
that
you sign,
crazy?
sign, sign. It
Isn't that
is.
crazy?
But that's life, Doug. I think, and that's why I think purchasing a car transcends, or our content transcends just buying a car, because it genuinely is a very big decision that you're committed to for a very long time, whether it's a 2 year lease, 3 year lease, 5 year um, you know, uh, financing term on a vehicle. That's a long term commitment. So it's not just something where it's just like, ooh. So yes, it is very crazy. And I've been in situations and I've recorded these situations where I'm just like, listen, these are your options. You're gonna have a high interest, high auto loan payment. This is what you want to do. Yes. At the end of the day, Doug, they're grown. You're a grown up. You're an adult. You make your own decisions. I'm here to make money at the end of the day. That does not make us, I believe, does not make us a hypocrite because, like you said, we are a business. It is your responsibility to decipher what information is in front of you and make sure it fits your needs. Now, there have been times where I just said no because they're just too young to process. And unfortunately, that's, I still think there's a responsibility to a dealership, to a salesperson in any industry, especially car industry. Yes, you're selling an experience, but also you're also selling something that is going to be a very long-term commitment to somebody. So you should be as transparent as possible. You should lay out both options.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think, though, that it is that if somebody buys a car that they regret, like this is what I see all the time. Okay. And a lot of it, I'm sure people have bought cars from our dealership before, and then a certain time later, they're like, this wasn't the right car for me. But I'm sure that's happened. But every day, at least 3 or 4 times a day, a salesperson is coming to me. A lot of this is because of the social media, right? People feel like, hey, let me go to Doug and his team and see if they can figure something out. But it's like a car that somebody has bought within the last 12 months. they hate it, quote unquote, right? They're or they feel like they got taken advantage of at the dealership. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I wasn't there, right? Um, in some cases, it's as recent as 3 to 6 months, right? And
That's
now they
crazy.
are in these negative equity situations, which I've seen my fair share of bad ones. You've seen your fair share of bad ones. It's like, obviously, I feel bad and I want to help, but on the other hand, I'm like, how did we get here, right? It's like, what is it about cars that and they're blaming the previous dealership, and it's like, well, did the how responsible is that dealership really in that situation? You know what I mean? I don't know that we go other places. Like if you go to Target and you buy a bunch of random housewares, and then a month later you're like, you know what, that wall clock, I didn't need that. That was dumb. I shouldn't have bought it. Are you going around telling everybody like, "Hey man, Target really screwed me. They took advantage of me. I was in there. They had that wall clock right up front. I didn't need it. They knew I didn't need it. They sold it to me anyway." Right? It's like I don't feel like people really do that, but when it comes to cars, it's like we're going to bus roll the dealership all day every day.
I think the main equation to that is just, since you are, in most cases, everything is financed or leased, so there's some sort of interest or money factor. A lot of people don't take into account that cost,
Sure.
and it is a cost. Your insurance is a cost. So when they look at their account 6 months later and all the interest is going to the balance and you've only eaten five on your principal, it's very understandable where somebody would be upset to be like, my car is worth $10,000 less than what I owe. And I think you are right. There should be some sort of understanding of, it's your decision. It was your vehicle, it was your wants versus your needs. This is your problem. I don't feel as bad as maybe you would, because I wish there was a law where people would stop trading out of bad deals. I just think it gets progressively worse. Like you said, if somebody came to you 6 months later in their negative X situation, they're like, I want to trade into it, you're just going to be in a worse position. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or a year later, I tell people all the time, trading out of a car, what seems to be or what is a bad deal, is not a good deal unless it's like you have a crazy down payment to eat the negative equity, or the Mercedes launched an incentive saying, you know what, I'm gonna give you $30,000 on this EV vehicle, which I don't know if it exists anymore, in order for you to get into a car. But then
Yeah.
the car is probably more expensive, etc. Um, I think it's a tricky one, Doug, because when you're going to Target, like you said, you're not adding these back end products that obviously their value is worth X at the time of signing, but then it's worth 2X 4 years down the line or 3 years
Hmm.
down the line. Warranties aren't explained correctly. There's an aggregate payout. You paid 10 grand for warranty. It only covers 20 grand. It's in the contract. Who's really going to read 400 pages of financing contracts, Doug?
Yeah.
But on the say to your point, I do agree. Going on Google, I mean, there is somebody will bring Chat GPT for their whole entire life. It's not that hard to be like, how much interest will I pay on this vehicle? Or what's the depreciation schedule on a Mercedes GLB? You're absolutely right. And honestly, Doug, like, I think one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry is when somebody has this regret 6 months down the line, like you said, and they're coming to you saying, well, Yusuf, I don't think this is a car for me. It's just like, do you want me to give you full price for the vehicle and refund you for all your things and whatnot? Like, what is the expectation here? How long are we really married to the deal? But I agree with you. The argument can be made to a certain extent. I do think consumers have a limited capacity, especially when buying things, and most companies take advantage of that psychological, thing that people go through. They just buy now, instant gratification. Let me get it done. I didn't hear what you said. How can we make it more transparent other than telling you what the fees are and et cetera? There's a truth in lending form. There's all that. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, can we blame people for being people? It is what it is.
No, and I don't know the answer. It's just for me, I guess now I'm so interested in just the psychology, like you, of why people do the things they do. And it's kind of like this great mystery to me, of how so many people end up in these positions where they buy a car, which, like you said, it should be. It's a huge purchase. It is. And so I don't know if tighter regulation on lending parameters is the answer, or what the answer is, but yeah, I don't know. It really is the wild, wild west of the industry. And I think that when you've got such a wide spread of dealerships that are doing things transparently versus dealerships that'll like do anything to get the sale today, it only muddies the water further because you might have if you fall in love with a car, you get emotional about it, you go and buy it, and it happens not to be a dealer that has, or it happens to be a dealer that doesn't have your best interest in mind, then yeah, you could end up in a really tough situation for many reasons. Even if still all the forms are signed and all the everything is done properly, like you said, people get emotional. They kind of put the blinders on and they don't really read through the process, or they don't really take it all in and fully understand what they're getting into. So it's such a complicated industry and it's fascinating, but it's especially right now coming out of the COVID era where everything was so inflated price wise. And this is not just true for cars. I mean, it was lumber, everything was insane.
Everything, yeah.
Um, but then
But
to
with that
have,
being said, Doug, I
yeah,
think people are making less and less money and things are getting inflated,
yeah,
which is another issue in the car industry. And you know, it's sad to see the mom of three kids, right, in a $25,000 negative equity situation. Their car is broke down. It is sad, 100%. But I think we're both limited on what we can do. We're here to make money, and we have to decipher whether or not, uh, and kind of have a game plan of like why you need a brand new car. And to your point, I think the regulation has to change because, Doug, I don't believe in most situations the last couple of years the average interest rate for a used car was like 13, 14%. Back in 2018, 17, 16, that was subprime numbers. I mean, if you got 13%, you had bad credit. I mean,
yeah,
you were having 500, 600 credit score, right? You were looking
yeah,
at 3%, 4% was like the average for somebody with good credit. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that was what I was used to back then.
yeah,
Now we're tripling the rates. Car insurance is super expensive. There has to be some sort of regulation because I don't think life happens. And if you have under a 650 credit score at a 18, 20% interest rate, you shouldn't be buying a car at a credit card interest rate. I'm sorry. Like that to me, that's where it kills a deal, Doug. It's interest. And I think that should be the emphasis on most things. Just explaining and understanding that interest is what really gets you in these situations. Because if I'm paying 2 years of a very front heavy interest bearing product, then that means my principal is going to stay the same for 2 years.
yeah.
And like I don't know what the revolving door for you guys is. For most clients we have, they're changing out every 2 to 3 years. They're never staying the 5, 6 years. Um, so
Well, I've talked a lot about this, and people always argue with me in my comment section about it because you really can't search it and get a very direct answer. But all of the data that I've ever been shown over the years from NADA, JD Power, Edmunds, all the third parties, right? Their data shows that the average American is getting a new car or a car that is new to them within 3 years, right? 2 to 3 years. So that has nothing to do with now that is the average person, right? That means that, of course, there's going to be people that keep their cars a lot longer, right? Those are always
sure.
the ones that show up in the comment section where they're like, "I've had my
Right.
car for 15 years," and it's like, "That's great, right?"
It's
And more people should be like you, but you are not the majority of people, right? I see people every day that get a new car twice a year, and now a lot of them can afford to do that. I also see some people doing it that maybe can't afford to do it. But the average American, yeah, they do not keep a car very long. And so that just means that more people than not are getting in and out of cars in 2 to 3 years. You're exactly right. And they finance them as if they're going to keep them for 6 or 7. And that's the problem.
yes, I 100% agree with you. And to your comment about people in the comments, Doug, let me tell you something. Being a social media influencer, the comments will always entertain me, but they
Yeah.
also frustrate me. It's so everybody kind of thinks that, oh, everybody's on the same page when they come into the comment section. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There are people that are so disconnected from society. They're like you said, I've had my car for 50 years. Awesome, man. This is so cool. But that's not the norm. Like you're
Yeah.
so anecdotal. It's like life is not anecdotal. There are other people that, oh my God, you can get a 30% interest rate on a car? Yes, you can. That's a
Yeah.
lie. This is fake content. This is a fake call. Okay. Says the
Yeah.
from a person who is a construction worker or whatever it is, just a job that has nothing to do. There's nothing wrong with construction workers, by the way. I love
Yeah.
everybody that has a
You're just
job.
not in the
If you have a
industry.
job, you're blessed. You're not in the industry, exactly. So why are
Yeah.
you talking about something that I am frontline? I'm actually calling on the bank trying to figure out how to get this a better deal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so buying a car, I think, is probably the most important thing that anybody ever do, whether you're seasoned, whether you're first time buyer. Uh, And I do think that there has to be some regulation changes and just a mindset shift, like you said, Doug. Like sometimes, like the excuse that I hear to change their car, it blows my mind. Like, oh, I didn't like the color. 2 years later, you didn't like the color, wrap it. You know,
Right,
spend $2,500 and wrap the car.
right.
No, and I want the new updated screen.
Well,
What's
usually,
wrong with the old screen? Anyways, but
yeah.
this
Have you heard? Have you heard
go
by
ahead.
now the
Usually what
expression "buyers are liars"? It's
empires are
yeah.
lies. Yes.
So I think that, I always laugh at that phrase, and I think that a lot of people in the industry don't fully understand what it means, or they take it like very literally, and they make it like this like combative thing, like, oh, buyers are liars. They'll say anything, and it's not that. I look at that phrase as a little bit more lighthearted and playful in the sense that people will just say things that are not true because it's the easier thing to say than what is true, right? In the sense that,
Sure.
like, the person that comes in and they're like, "Yeah, I don't like the color. I want a new car." It's like, really? That's not why you're here, right? Let's be real. And if you can learn to
Right.
ask some good questions, you'll come to find out that maybe it's I can't afford the payment anymore, or it's breaking down or it's too small. My family doesn't fit in it. Like it's usually there's something else going on, but yeah, a lot of times people that are in the industry will just like a customer will say something to them, they'll take it at face value and they'll just assume that that's the truth. When oftentimes it's not. No different than, oh, I got a better deal down the street, and somebody's like, oh, okay, like, well, let me see, what's the deal? Let me see if I can match it. Whereas I'm like, then why are you here? What? Like that might just be your way of saying like trying you on, right? To make sure that you're getting the best possible deal. Or it's usually not the truth. Like I'm going down a total rabbit hole here or
You're
sidetrack, but
not. You're
I
not.
have
You're
all the
not. But
time. Here's my favorite when somebody's like, "Oh, I got quoted like $500 a month less by another dealer," and I'm like, $500, but it's I don't like the color,
$500. You're like, ow.
right?
That doesn't make any
It
sense.
it's always the color. I'm like, listen, that thing could be pink with a yellow interior, and for $500 less a month, I'll figure it out. And I think you would too, right? So, like, what's really going
100%.
on here? You know what I mean? So, anyway, I
Oh,
digress.
but ultimately, Doug, we'll find out the truth. Like, listen, you're in the industry, and you already know anybody that's calling in doing a credit app, income is inflated by 20 to 30, 40%. You know, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You find out truth in the end, and this is why, like, I think the transparency speaks volume for our pages because I have also have had clients come in and just be a little more straight up with me. Be like, hey, you know what, Yusuf, I can't afford this car anymore. I want to sell it. And I've had that on camera before. I'm like, I appreciate you being real. And those are
Yeah,
the people that I truly help out more rather than somebody saying like, it's not like I'm selectively picking who I help out more, but if you're honest about what you have going on, I definitely think it makes the process a lot easier. And I don't spend 3, 4 hours trying to, you know, work
no,
on the
totally.
color, right?
And that's something that I hope that I'm sure a lot of people in the industry are listening to this, and there's maybe people that are listening that are just automotive fans and they like buying cars, whatever. You're exactly right. People that lay it out for you and they're just honest about the scenario, they really give you all the information that you need. It makes the process so much easier. It makes it very easy for me to help you if I really know what your motivation is, what you're trying to do. And and to what the point you just made, I don't it's not about like, oh, I'm going to be nice to this person and not nice to this person, but we've all met people in our lives that you just feel more drawn to, or
Absolutely.
you're like, I like this person. I want to help them. And it's not because you were in a different mood that day. It's just because the way they're approaching me, the way they're handling this interaction with me, I just feel good about them. And I want to like go above and beyond to figure out a solution. Whereas people that are like guard is up, combative, maybe even a little bit rude, it's just like you inherently are like, you know what? How much time am I going to really spend with this person? Because they're actually just not even pleasant to speak with, and I can't tell if they're even giving me the truth of in the scenario here. So it's like the way that people approach the situation, there's definitely reciprocity. The dealership is going to be much more willing and able to help when you lay out all the cards.
And to be honest, Doug, like in this industry, time is definitely money. So, as you know, like every lead we get, we have to just kind of vet it and comb it through as much as we can to make sure that there's something there and not miss anything, turn over every rock. But with people that kind of paint this picture, like you said, or not being as upfront, oh, I found a car $500 cheaper a month, or this guy gave me 5 grand off. All right, have a good day. Go over there. And then because
Mhm.
the issue is now they come back to you. Now they look like a complete ass. And then it's like they want you to have the ball in your court. Just tell me like 5 grand is where you need to be off. I would have came off another 1,500 had you just told me straight up. But no, now you have 5 grand somewhere, go get it somewhere else. And I think that situation has happened so many times, Doug, in the industry. The amount of people that do shopping, and for me, like I've always been the person, even before social media, I will send you out the door numbers. Out the door to me means taxes, fees, everything. It's not just a sale price. I don't
Yep,
know,
yep.
anybody else in the industry.
As it
That's
should.
what I know out the door should be.
That is
That's
an
how
out
the
the door
email to me.
price, 100%. Make anybody who is
Do you understand
watching
how many
this.
people argue with me and say out the door is just sales price? Who does
N-
that? What do
No,
you
no, no, no,
what?
no. No, that's how people get taken advantage of, right? When they
Yes.
only get the selling price and then they don't see all the other extracurricular
Yes.
activity going on behind the scenes. Yeah. So good
Absolutely.
on you for doing that.
Yeah, always. And I'm like, I email it to you, look it over. Because the amount I think also the game has changed so much because like you said, people are just like instant gratification, they'll make a quick sale. I could say something wrong, boom, they go to the next competitor. I mean, that's how quick this industry has changed, in my opinion,
Yeah.
of like all the opportunities and all of the competitiveness in this market. You're being held by this like thin line. Are you going to be able to close them or not? So that's why I value that time. And when I sense bullshit, I'm just going to call it. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with you in a very respectable way. Have a good day. But the person that comes on here, I'm serious. I've stayed till 10, 11 p.m. talking to Westlake, talking to these banks, trying to get them in a situation that makes sense for them
Yeah.
because that's what they came for. I think in any situation when you are vulnerable financially, mentally, emotionally, to come and tell, hey, Doug, man, I can't afford this car. I had to have this. I'm going to help you, man. I mean, I appreciate that. You trust me. And now it's my responsibility to give you that. Or I'll just tell you, you're too far gone. I can't help you, unfortunately. Go get
Yeah.
a cash car, go do this. So, yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be, Doug. And I'm glad we're on the same page on that. I feel like sometimes I go crazy when people just say, "Oh, you should help everybody equally." I will, but you gotta give me that respect. You said reciprocity. That means you be upfront with me, I'll be upfront with you. I'm not gonna lie to you if you lie to me, but I'm not gonna waste my time.
Yeah. So to kind of bring it home here, I have an interesting question. I don't know if you've ever considered it before, but would you ever consider working for a franchise dealer, or do you prefer the independence and ownership of an independent store?
I would 100% go anywhere if the opportunity was there. There's pros and cons. I think a lot of us romanticize like being a business owner. It's awesome. I have freedom. Social media has definitely expanded this opportunity into something that I never thought possible. But it does come with its drawbacks. And even in the car industry, you know, you come in at 6, 7, you leave at 11 p.m. sometimes. And I think having a more structured, more compartmentalized, you know, uh, business to work for, franchise or not, sometimes is more appealing. And the consistency, I think, because as a business owner, it can be very inconsistent.
Yeah.
October was horrible, Doug. And, naturally in the car industry, October is a slower month. But for independent dealers, we get hit harder because you guys are able to float service and this and that. But for us, it's like if we're not making sales, that's it, right? So the consistency is definitely eye appealing. So yes, I would definitely consider working for a franchise dealer or even owning one if I ever am awarded the opportunity. But yes, I would definitely work for a franchise dealer. It's nice just to, do your job and leave sometimes. But also it's nice to do whatever you want. Like today I'm at the mall with my family. They took my credit card and they're gonna go just run it up while I'm having this wonderful conversation with you. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do this sometimes in the regular setting. So
Well, I apologize. I didn't realize this interview was going to cost you a undisclosed sum of money, but
no, I appreciate you, Doug, because now I don't have to see what's being bought. So there's a level of like, all right, you know what, I got distracted, and this is
Right.
honestly, I'd rather have this this conversation with you than spend 5 hours walking from store to store and figuring out what looks good and what doesn't look good. So
There you go. Yeah, you just have to deal with the aftermath. You don't have to watch, the carnage as it happens, right?
absolutely, yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Just move that money over from credit card and just pay that debt. That's it. That's all I got to do. I don't have to be the part of the experience. So
Well, good deal, brother. Any closing thoughts that you have? Where do you I'll ask you, kind of one final question that might not, um, I don't know how much sense it makes, in your world in general, but, the I just am curious everyone's opinion on EVs, because that was such a hotly it was so politicized for so long, and now it's like the whole world has done like a 180. So, what does the future of automotive, and this is really kind of more of a new car question, but anything that happens with new cars then trickles down to the used car market within 2
yeah,
3 years generally. So, this big 180 that we've seen kind of globally with electrification, what do you think that does for the future of EVs, the values of EVs that exist today, and kind of where are we headed as far as powertrains, et cetera? What do you think is going to happen?
I've always had my money on hybrid. I think, Toyota, Honda, they've all had a strong market share of the hybrid market. I think that the EV technology has made hybrid technology a lot more efficient, a lot
Yeah.
more, um, I think capable to have a longer electric range. Am I an EV fan? I think if it makes sense, like, I have family in DC and New York, so when I drive there, yes, absolutely, EV makes sense. It's better for the environment. It's a lot more refreshing to have something that you don't have to warm up and make a lot of noise, etc. But I think to me, I'm truly a car person. I love cars. Like, I've had all types of cars, and I think the characteristics of each car make it unique to drive. When I drove a Tesla, until I drove the Porsche Taycan and the EQS, actually, EQS, I love the UX that Mercedes-Benz has done. It's an amazing vehicle.
Mhm.
I think the reason why I was so against it was because I actually did a video on this. They were so expensive, Doug. I mean, I think I felt so bad for people that bought them for like 130, 140, especially like the Hummer EVs, and they
Oh, yeah.
slashed in half, 50% off, Doug.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah.
So to me, I was just like, ugh, the hype definitely didn't live up to the expectations. But now I do think as we're moving forward, I think I think as far as selling EVs, they have definitely become more popular for me. I've never had luck selling EVs up until maybe these last 6 months. I'm definitely getting a lot more EV sales now. And George did say something, and it's absolutely true. It's funny how Elon just shifts the market completely. I've
Yeah.
seen people literally, I have I used to, what electric vehicles I have? I got a Tesla. I have, this BMW. I have this. I don't want any Teslas. I'm like, why? Like, yeah, I don't want to deal with Elon. It's crazy that, and
Yeah.
that's what I mean. How powerful, Doug. Like, if you're in social media, and I'm going off of a tangent here, but if you're in social media, if you represent a brand, you are the brand, right? So if I say something out of pocket, then Auto Cafe will suffer. The same way Elon says something, he can move, masses with Tesla either on the downside or on the upside.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that EV may not be as sustainable as hybrid. So I will have my money on hybrid when it comes to technology. And I think the hybrid market has been doing very well. I mean, I see, you know, Mercedes, which never really used to be very hybrid intense. A lot of your performance vehicles are more hybrid. A lot of the
Yeah.
GLE 53 and all these other things have the mild 48-volt hybrid system. So
Yep.
I think hybrid is more sustainable, to be honest.
Okay. And then final question, to for the people that might be considering social media. There is I'm sure most people that watch me, watch you, watch George, watch Russ, watch Tommy, whoever it is that they like, that they see building a business, building a brand, or just helping whatever it is that they're already doing. They see the benefit, but so few people can actually kind of get off the couch, so to speak, to start doing it. What if you could go back in time to before you picked up the phone and started recording yourself reviewing food? What would your advice be to somebody that is like, yeah, I get it, but like, they always have a reason why they're not going to do it, right? They always have an excuse. And like, what would you say to yourself back then? Like, start doing it now. And here's why.
All right, so this is going to be very controversial. Um, A lot of people will encourage everybody to do the same thing, and I don't think we're all built the same. Not many people can pick up a camera and just pick a topic and talk about it for 4 or 5 minutes straight. And not many people can just change their life and their perspective on things and understand how can I make some captivating content from it. But that doesn't stop me from, I guess, helping people educate themselves or motivating them to post on social media because it is life changing. I mean, it's crazy, Doug. Like you could post a video about a vehicle. Like for instance, I posted a video about the Bentley that I did with 89,000 miles. Right,
Yeah.
Doug. I had 120 plus leads from that one video.
Yeah.
Like I don't think people understand how crazy that is to think. Like I pay 4 grand for Car Gurus, 1,200 for Carfax. I am on Facebook Marketplace. We have cars like we have 7 to 8 grand a month on marketing expense, and I get maybe 5 or 10 leads a month from the Bentley. But one video that was free, I got 120 leads, and I actually am closing a sale because of that video.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not powerful enough, or that doesn't motivate you enough to be like, wow, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of the things that I would tell myself going back, just don't overcomplicate things. I definitely learned real quick that people have a very short attention span. Like I said, I have the gift of gab, so I can make a 10-minute video that should have been 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Keep it short, keep it concise. Keep people moving, and I think you don't have to focus on the quantity. Focus on the quality. And like a lot of people say, well, I'm thinking about it, but I'm trying to figure out a plan of how I can build a system to sustain all. Worry about 500 views. Worry about the 200 views, and all you need is just one person just to convert or captivate. Just one, right? You don't need millions of people to captivate. You can have one person be like, "Ooh, I really like what you do." And
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing about this ecosystem of social media. You can have the same product, but have 50 people selling it, and you're selling the experience because it's like, oh, I like Doug. I'm gonna go to him. How many Mercedes-Benz store are in America? But people fly and drive to you
Right.
because you make that experience for them. So I think I would make it a little more personable. I wouldn't just generalize. Don't be so cookie cutter. And I'm not saying cookie cutter doesn't work, but just add your own little spin. And I think that's what makes moves. So that's what I would do if I had to give myself advice. Don't overcomplicate, shorten it, make it sweet, concise, simple, and just be real. I think everybody says fake it till you make it, but they'll never realize this, Doug. Everybody fakes till they make it, and they're still fake after they make it. It's so crazy. This is like it's like automatically you become real after you make it. It's like they're
Right.
still fake. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, so just start doing it. Start filming because you never know. You never know what it could
yeah,
do
you
for
never
you.
know. Absolutely. And I think it's just that one video, Doug. It took that one auction video, right? It was just like meh, meh, meh. An auction video, I mean, just it's overnight, man. And I think with that, don't let that dissuade you from the consistency part, right? Just keep posting, post every day,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and even if you can't, just make sure that it's captivating. Post ahead of time. And it's crazy, Doug. I mean, me and you started with just doing it ourselves, and now we have clipping armies, and we have this, and we have that. It comes to a point where you're just like, you don't even think about like, oh wow, I did start by, you know, doing 500 TikToks and on CapCut, like going to that little thing and like editing it, and then like doing this. It's crazy, man. Like how
I
just things.
know.
It's fast. So what I'm telling people is just get on the bandwagon, do it, post. And if it doesn't work out, cool. At least you tried. And I think that's life. You just gotta give it its energy. And if it's not receiving it, it's all good. There's something better meant for you.
Yeah. I agree. I love it. Well, Yusuf, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for being here today. I hope that you have an amazing end of the year. October was tough, right? But you know what? All we can do is control what we can control. And that's showing up every day, doing our best, educating people, entertaining them. And I know that you and I will continue to do that. And I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Hopefully people start listening because I don't know, Doug. I'm thinking about changing my ways, Doug. I'm telling you, it's it's getting it's getting to this point, man. It's like you want me to be that stigma. I don't know, man. I might start charging, 3, 4 points over and then 10 grand over MSRP for vehicles.
I hope you don't. But I get it. I know, but I feel you. I know it's.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is, but my hope is that the more of you and me that are out there, the more dealers we can encourage to follow suit. And little, I mean, I know it's a tall task, but little by little, we can make this industry better. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's the more times that people support a bad dealership, the harder it'll be to make the change. So
absolutely. But like you said, that was obviously a joke. But yes, I
no,
appreciate
of course,
you
I
having
know,
me
I
on
know.
this wonderful show. And I hope this takes off into millions of followers, and it just gives perspective from all of your guests about what it's like to be, an amazing, general manager, Doug Horner. Just, I love this, Doug, and I really hope it takes off, and I know it will because you're just the type of guy that knows how to talk, how to plan, and just people want to learn from you, and I want to learn from this as well. So I'm super excited to be on episode 3, and I appreciate it. And like I said, you have been a very big catalyst to my progression in the sales industry, and I hope people continue to watch this and watch all your older videos. There were some gems in there. Absolutely love it, man. So
Yeah.
again, Doug, thank you very much. I feel honored.
Likewise, brother. Appreciate you. All right,
All
we'll
right, Doug.
talk to you.
Talk soon. Yes, sir.
This episode is brought to you by Call Review, the dealership intelligence platform that connects every conversation to performance. From their hosted phone system and AI-powered attendant to real-time analytics, coaching, and reputation insights, Call Review helps you capture every call, understand every interaction, and convert more opportunities. Call Review, where communication meets intelligence. For more information, visit callreview.com.